This is the story of how Osama bin Laden disappeared and how the hunt began. Everything changed on August 27, 2010. Ibrahim al-Kuwaiti was in Peshawar that day, a city under total CIA communications surveillance. In a moment of carelessness he would never have the chance to regret, he used his personal phone to make a brief call to an al-Qaeda contact. The CIA locked onto the signal within seconds. Rather than arresting him immediately, they let him go and followed him. Ibrahim climbed into his white Suzuki Peshawar Jeep, a distinctive rhino emblem on its spare tire, and drove south toward Abbottabad. CIA agents shadowed him in unmarked vehicles, watching as he turned into Bilal Town and disappeared through the gates of a large compound. The surveillance team parked nearby and began taking stock of what they were looking at. The compound was immediately unusual. Its walls were far higher than any residential property in the area. It had no outward-facing windows. The balconies were surrounded by concrete barriers that blocked any view of who might be standing on them. The residents appeared to have no interest in any of their neighbors, and no modern technology was visible anywhere on the property. One peculiar incident stood out. When neighborhood children playing cricket accidentally sent their ball over the compound wall, the residents did not throw it back. Instead, they came outside and handed the children money, an amount 10 times the value of the ball. Nobody who lived normally behaved that way. CIA. Director Leon Panetta sent an email to his team with the subject line, "Closing in on bin Laden's Courier." He was already suggesting that the compound might be sheltering something far more important than a courier. He took the findings directly to the president, Obama, who authorized a covert investigation to be conducted without informing the Pakistani government. Beginning in September 2010, the CIA assembled an exhaustive intelligence file on the compound called Anatomy of a Lead. A retired Pakistani army officer, Lieutenant Colonel Saeed Iqbal, was recruited to help. He visited the home of a friend, Dr. Amir Aziz, whose rooftop sat just 80 yards from the compound walls. Under the pretense of checking on Aziz's dogs, Iqbal discreetly photographed the compound from multiple angles and handed the images to the CIA. The agency rented an office 1 mile from the compound and converted it into a covert operations center. Analysts drove past in a Lexus to avoid attracting attention. Infrared and night vision cameras tracked the movement and body heat of everyone inside. Listening devices were concealed in the poplar trees around the perimeter. The team built detailed profiles of the compound's residents, approximately 20 to 22 people in total, living across multiple floors. Every day, at roughly the same time, a tall figure emerged onto the top floor balcony, paced back and forth for several minutes, then retreated inside. The balcony shades obscured his face, but his shadow was cast against the compound's outer walls. Using the shadow's proportions against a known reference point, analysts estimated the figure's height at somewhere between 5'5" and 6'8". Bin Laden stood 6'4". The range was inconclusive, but the behavior was not. This individual never participated in household chores, never assisted with maintenance, and never left the compound. He was clearly being protected by everyone around him. By November 2010, CIA analysts presented their findings to President Obama. John Brennan, his senior counterterrorism advisor, placed the probability that bin Laden was in the compound at 90%. The broader team settled on 80%. CIA Deputy Director Michael Morrell offered a more measured 60%. Obama acknowledged the findings, but pressed for harder evidence. The diplomatic consequences of raiding a compound in a sovereign nation and being wrong were too severe to contemplate. The agency devised one more attempt to obtain definitive proof. A CIA operative named Kate approached a local physician, Dr. Shakeel Afridi, with a proposition. She represented herself as running an NGO called Save the Child, offering to fund a hepatitis B vaccination program for underprivileged children in Abbottabad. The real objective was to gain entry to the compound, administer vaccines to the children inside, and collect DNA samples that could be cross-referenced against bin Laden's known family members. Dr. Afridi was initially hesitant. After a $55,000 payment arrived in his account, he agreed. He recruited nurses and healthcare workers from Ayub Medical College and launched a vaccination drive across several Abbottabad neighborhoods, including Bilal Town. When his team finally arrived at the compound's gate, Ibrahim answered the door and turned them away without allowing anyone inside. The plan had failed. The DNA was never obtained. Within the compound, the situation was evolving in ways the CIA could not yet see. Ibrahim and Abrar, exhausted from years of confinement, approached bin Laden privately and told him they needed to leave. His answer? Wait until September 11th, 2011, the 10th anniversary of the attacks. After that, he promised, they could all move on. He would sell the compound. They would each find somewhere new to start over. Without knowing it, the CIA was running out of time. CIA analyst Gina Bennett compiled every piece of available intelligence: satellite imagery, thermal camera data, shadow measurements, intercepted courier patterns, into a document she titled Sensitive Site Exploitation. It mapped every inch of the compound: the number of stairs, the height of the walls from each angle, the position of the vehicles, the layout of every floor. Profiles were built for each resident, each assigned an individual identification card. Bennett was convinced. The rest of the senior team agreed. On an appointed day, Leon Panetta, Admiral William McRaven, Joint Chiefs Chairman Mike Mullen, and Pentagon counterterrorism advisor Michael Vickers gathered in the White House Situation Room. The National Geospatial Intelligence Agency had constructed a precise scale model of the Abbottabad compound. Every floor, every staircase, every wall replicated exactly. Obama was presented with three options. The first was a full aerial bombardment using B-2 bombers. 24 bombs, total destruction of the compound, zero risk to American personnel. The problem, beyond the massive collateral damage and potential civilian casualties, was that it would obliterate any forensic evidence confirming bin Laden's death and would almost certainly fracture relations with Pakistan beyond repair. The second option was a targeted drone strike, more precise, but still likely to trigger a diplomatic crisis, and the possibility that bin Laden might survive or escape remained uncomfortably real. Obama rejected a third proposal outright: coordinating the operation with Pakistani authorities. That, he said flatly, was not an option. Admiral McRaven put forward the plan he believed gave the United States its best chance: a direct raid by an elite special forces unit. No advance notice to Pakistan. Navy SEALs would enter Pakistani airspace undetected, breach the compound, confirm bin Laden's identity face-to-face, neutralize him, and be gone before the Pakistani military knew anything had happened. If bin Laden turned out not to be there, the mission could be quietly attributed to a counterterrorism training exercise. If he was there, the decade-long hunt would be over. The president approved. The operation was given its official name: Operation Neptune Spear. Admiral McRaven told Obama he could have everything ready within 3 weeks. Preparations began the following morning. The Navy's elite SEAL Team 6, specifically its Red Squadron, was selected to carry out the mission. The 161st Special Operations Aviation Regiment, America's most skilled covert helicopter pilots, was chosen to fly them in. 24 operators were hand-picked, each with an exceptional service record. For operational security, none of them were initially told the true nature of the mission. They were informed only that a high-value target operation in the Afghanistan-Pakistan region was being planned. On April 10, 2011, the team was brought to a classified facility where a full-scale replica of the Abbottabad compound had been constructed. For days, they ran through every conceivable scenario inside the replica, clearing rooms, covering stairwells, managing contingencies. A Belgian Malinois military dog named Cairo joined the team, trained to jump from helicopters and track targets. A Pashto interpreter was assigned to facilitate any on-site questioning. By April 18th, the team had relocated to a secret training site in Nevada, where conditions more closely matched Abbottabad's altitude and climate. Parallel planning continued in other departments. A legal team and interpreters trained aboard the USS Carl Vinson aircraft carrier in the Arabian Sea, prepared for the scenario in which bin Laden surrendered and had to be taken into custody alive. A media team, led by advisors Rhodes and Little, drafted official statements covering every possible outcome: success, capture, or mission failure. 2 escape routes out of Pakistan were mapped and memorized in case everything went wrong. The entire force would stage at Jalalabad Air Base in Afghanistan. Awaiting the final order, 5 helicopters were assigned to the mission. 2 specially modified UH-60 Black Hawk stealth helicopters, engineered to minimize radar cross-section, heat signature, and noise, and 3 Boeing CH-47 Chinook heavy-lift helicopters. 1 Chinook would remain at Jalalabad as a backup. 2 others would pre-position in Pakistan's Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province, carrying a quick reaction team ready to respond if the assault triggered heavy armed resistance. On April 26, the team arrived at Bagram Airfield in Afghanistan. The following day, they moved to Jalalabad. On April 28th, Obama conducted a final review and signed off on the operation. The original date set was April 30th, but bad weather and fog forced a 24-hour delay. May 1st, 2011, the day had arrived.
After almost a decade, U.S. intelligence started. SEAL Team 6, a U.S. Elite Special Forces unit, is touch up their killing.
Accounting for the time zone difference between Washington and Jalalabad, the operation was set to begin at 11 p.m. Afghan time, 1:22 p.m. Eastern. CIA Director Leon Panetta and Admiral McRaven initiated the launch sequence. President Obama, who had maintained his normal public schedule all day to avoid drawing attention, played a round of golf, and then took his seat in the White House Situation Room. Inside the Abbottabad compound, bin Laden and his family had gone to sleep on the upper floor. 1 Chinook remained at Jalalabad. The remaining 4 helicopters, 2 Blackhawks and 2 Chinooks, lifted off and crossed into Pakistani airspace at extremely low altitude, well below the range at which Pakistani radar systems could detect them. By the time they reached Swat Valley, the 2 Chinooks carrying the quick reaction team landed in the mountains and held their position. The 2 Blackhawks continued south toward Abbottabad. At 12:30 a.m., the helicopters reached the compound. The compound's layout: a main gate at the entrance, an open area near the front used for burning garbage, a vegetable garden along one side. Before the main structure, a guest house where Ibrahim and his family were sleeping. On the ground floor of the main building, Abrar and his family. 1 floor up, bin Laden's son, Khalid. On the top floor, bin Laden himself with his wife and children. The SEAL team was divided into 2 groups. Chalk 2's helicopter stayed airborne, while a SEAL and Cairo descended to guard the main gate, cutting off any exit. 3 additional operators positioned along the perimeter road. The rest vaulted over the compound wall. The compound's power supply was cut. The residents were plunged into complete darkness. The SEALs, equipped with night vision goggles, could see everything clearly. As the Chalk 1 Blackhawk came into land, it struck an aerodynamic problem called settling with power. The helicopter's downwash circulated beneath its own rotors, causing a sudden loss of lift. The training compound had low chain link fencing. The real compound had concrete walls nearly 20 feet high. The helicopter's tail section clipped the wall, and the aircraft became unstable. The pilot managed a controlled crash, bringing the nose down inside the compound. Every SEAL aboard disembarked safely, but the tail had snapped off and protruded over the wall. The helicopter was destroyed. The mission had just lost a critical piece of equipment and its secrecy. By morning, the wreckage would be visible to anyone who walked past. The plan was immediately revised. The 2nd Blackhawk remained on site rather than pulling back to a staging area. An RQ-170 Sentinel stealth drone circled above, transmitting live video to the White House Situation Room. Snipers took positions around the perimeter. To reduce visibility across the city, Abbottabad's entire electricity supply was cut, a contingency plan that had been prepared in advance. Outside the compound, a local software engineer named Shoaib Athar, who was still awake and at his computer, posted on social media, helicopter hovering above Abbottabad at 1 a.m., rare event. Inside the compound, the SEALs breached Ibrahim's guest house using a C4 explosive charge. Ibrahim had locked himself in and fired at the operators through the door. They returned fire and killed him. His wife opened the door and emerged. The children were found sheltering behind bags. Operator Matthew's team secured them and pressed on toward the main building. The main compound gate was breached with a second C4 charge. The team advanced to the ground floor, where they encountered Abrar. He was shot immediately. His wife was wounded beside him. The remaining women and children were gathered and moved to one location. On the first floor, Khalid bin Laden opened fire with an AK-47. The SEALs shot him. O'Neill's team moved to the top floor. Through their night vision goggles, they saw a tall figure standing in the darkness. Osama bin Laden's wife, Amal, lunged toward the advancing operators, placing herself between her husband and the Americans. Bin Laden pushed her forward, directly into the approaching SEALs, a move apparently intended to slow them down, with the possible implication that she might be wearing explosives. When it became clear she was not, the team shot her in the knee. At 1:10 a.m., 2 shots were fired. Both struck bin Laden above the left eye. He was dead before he hit the floor. The team stood over the body and began the confirmation process. SEAL operator Bissonette lifted a bedsheet, wiped the blood from the man's face, and photographed him. The image was transmitted for identification analysis. For 15 minutes, the team worked to verify what they had done. They had no measuring tape, so they improvised, laying one of the SEALs beside the body for a rough height comparison. A translator questioned 2 of bin Laden's daughters, Sumaya and Mariam. Mariam gave a false name. Sumaya told the truth, confirming the man on the floor was her father. His second wife, Courier, confirmed it as well. His 11-year-old daughter, Sophia, provided further confirmation. A satellite transmission went out to the operations center in Afghanistan. Geronimo EKIA. Geronimo was bin Laden's mission codename. EKIA, enemy killed in action. The same confirmation was relayed to the White House Situation Room moments later. The backup Chinook was called in. The SEALs collected hard drives, cell phones, cameras, DVDs, and documents, an intelligence haul that would take months to fully analyze. Before departing, they rigged the crashed Black Hawk with explosives and destroyed it, leaving only the tail section protruding over the compound wall. As it detonated, Shoaib Athar posted again, "A huge window-shaking bang here in Abbottabad." At 2:26 a.m., the 2 Blackhawks departed Abbottabad via separate routes to complicate any attempt to track them. Bin Laden's remains were divided between both helicopters as a precaution, ensuring that if one were shot down, the other would still carry proof of the mission's success. The entire operation had taken 40 minutes. Bin Laden's body was transported to Jalalabad, where a DNA analysis confirmed his identity by matching a sample taken from a close family member. His body was examined, and 500 euros were found in the clothing he wore to bed. Once confirmation was complete, the body was flown by V-22 Osprey aircraft to the USS Carl Vinson in the Arabian Sea. Burial was conducted there, following Islamic tradition. His remains were committed to the sea. At 11:35 p.m. Eastern Time on May 1st, 2011, a speech that had been written in advance for exactly this moment, President Barack Obama addressed the world from the East Room of the White House. After nearly 10 years, countless lives, and an immense investment of American resources and intelligence, Osama bin Laden was dead. Back in Abbottabad, Pakistani military forces arrived at the compound at 3:45 a.m. Bin Laden's surviving wife and children were transported to a local hospital. During interrogation, they provided a detailed account of what had happened inside the compound that night and of how they had lived there, hidden, for the previous 5 years. When the CIA released the documents recovered from bin Laden's room to the public, they painted a strange and oddly mundane portrait of the world's most hunted man. He had ordered a documentary about himself. He kept journals mapping out Al-Qaeda's future strategies. His hard drive contained children's games and a collection of adult content. As for the measuring tape the SEAL team forgot to bring, It was bin Laden himself who ultimately confirmed his own height. After a decade of pursuit, false leads, catastrophic setbacks, and extraordinary sacrifice, the United States had found him, hidden in plain sight, a short walk from a military academy, in a city where no one thought to look.